On February 1st, 1902, James Nathan Hughes and Carrie Langston Hughes gave birth to one of the most important persons of the Harlem Renaissance, James Mercer Langston Hughes. He was born in Joplin, Missouri. Hughes came from a family of abolitionists. His great-great-grandfather was Charles Henry Langston, who was a brother of John Mercer Langston. John was the first black American to be elected to public office in 1855. The future poet did not have the best of childhoods. His parents separated when James was just a boy. This devastated the child and ultimately moved to Lawrence, Kansas to live with his grandmother, where he would spend most of his childhood. After his grandmother died, when he was only 13 years of age, he moved to Lincoln, Illinois to live with his mother and her husband. The family eventually moved to Cleveland, where he attended Cleveland High School. He was elected class poet. He felt he was chosen because of the color of his skin. He discussed how his teacher stressed rhythm and felt that his teacher thought black people had a lot of this attribute. On any note, this caused Langston Hughes to write his first piece, When She Wear Red. Many state that his unhappy and unstable childhood influenced the artist's future poems. In 1919, at the age of 17, Langston Hughes moved to Mexico to live with his father. The two did not get along as father and son should. Hughes' father did not care for his own people, and Langston Hughes could not understand why. Langston Hughes wanted to pursue the art of poetry, but his father was not interested in his son's dreams and wanted him to pursue a future in engineering. The young boy compromised with his father and went to Columbia University for a year and dropped out in 1922 with a B average. He dropped out because of the prejudice he was feeling in the institution. The next year he joined the SS Malone and traveled for about 6 months. During this time he visited Africa, Russia, Spain, Italy, and France, where he stayed in Paris waiting tables and writing poetry. He returned to the States in 1924, where he lived with his mother in Washington, D.C. While in D.C., he spent a large amount of his time in the blues and jazz clubs. It was noted that Hughes stated, "I tried to write poems like the songs they sang on 7th Street. These songs had a pulse beat of the people who kept on going." In 1925, he wrote his first book of poetry, The Weary Blues, and it was published in 1926. The title represented Black America during this time of oppression. Hughes' poems differ from that of other poets during the Harlem Renaissance. His poems reflected black culture as it is in its reality, with suffering, laughing, and environmental accessories. The poet's first published poem, The Negro Speaks of Rivers, published in The Crisis in 1921, shows up in The Weary Blues. This becomes one of Hughes' most famous poems. Hughes held his blackness near and dear. He would write about other poets who'd rather be called a poet instead of a black poet. Hughes came to the conclusion that these poets wanted to write like white poets. In 1926, Hughes wrote an essay and in it said, "We younger Negro artists now intend to express our individual dark-skinned selves without fear or shame. If white people are pleased, we are happy. If they aren't, it doesn't matter. We know we are beautiful and ugly too. If colored people are pleased, we are glad. If they are not, their displeasure doesn't matter either. We build our temples for tomorrow as strong as we know how to, and we stand on top of the mountain, free within ourselves." Langston Hughes is known as the Shakespeare of Harlem. The artist moved to Pennsylvania, where he enrolled in Lincoln University. He joined the first black fraternity organization, Omega Psi Phi. In 1929, he received a BA degree. In 1930, he wrote his first novel, Not Without Laughter, which won him the Harlem Gold Medal of Literature. Jazz, blues, and rhythms from church influenced almost all of his poems. In 1951, Hughes wrote Harlem, or Dream Deferred. The rhythm and style it is written in is a perfect example of the jazz influence. One line from the poem would later serve as the title of the famous play, A Raisin in the Sun. On May 2, 1967, James Mercy Langston Hughes died in New York City. He died of an abdominal surgery, or now commonly known as prostate cancer. East 127th Street has been renamed Langston Hughes Place, thanks to the residents in New York City Preservation Committee. Within the Arthur Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture lies Langston Hughes' ashes underneath a medallion. The design is an African cosmograph titled River, from the poem The Negro Speaks of Rivers. Many of his work is in the Langston Hughes Memorial Library on Lincoln University. Langston Hughes wrote 2 novels, 16 books of poetry, 3 collections of short stories, 20 plays, and plenty more. He will always be remembered as a great black man of literature and poetry.